Solving percent problems, the percent of change. Well, what is the percent of change? Basically, it's how much did something change in terms of a percent. So let's take a look and see exactly what percent of change is doing. So our percent of change is going to be when we have an original amount, like, I don't know, let's say that Tommy on the soccer team in the beginning of the season could kick a soccer ball 25 yards. Okay, and at the end of the season, Tommy's now able to kick that soccer ball 30 yards. So you could see his distance changed by 5 yards. But what was his percent of change? Like, how much percent better did he get? So what we do in order to find a percent of change is we have to first find the amount of change. So to find the amount of change, what we have to do is we have to subtract the original number and the new number. Now, again, when we're talking about percent of change, that percent's always going to end up being a positive number. Now, it can either be a percent increase, which means it got more, or it could be a percent decrease, in which case it got less. In this case, you could see the original distance that Tommy kicked the soccer ball was 25 yards. The new distance is 30 yards, so clearly this is an increase. So we're going to look for his percent of increase in this case. And like I said, the amount of change is really going to be how much change is there. So our amount of change divided by the original amount. Like, how much did it start off as? So in this case, our amount of change we're going to get by doing 30 minus 25. And we're going to divide it by the original number, which in this case is 25 yards. And that is going to be equal to our percent. If you remember from percent proportions, this is how we set it up. And now we'll actually simplify this, make it 30 minus 25 is going to give us 5 over 25. And that's going to be equal to some percent. Now, you know me, normally I'm all about reduce the fractions, make the problem easier. Well, in this case, the problem's already pretty easy. Because if you look at it, you should be able to tell 25 goes into 100 4 times. So if I multiply 25 by 4, I get 100. Which means if I multiply 5 times 4, I'm going to get n. So in this case, n is 20. So Tommy showed a 20% increase. And that's the percent of change. That's how percent of change works. Okay, let's do another example. Okay, this time, let's say that Carol is running a certain distance. She's running from her house to the town lake. And if she runs at a steady pace, she's able to get there in 24 minutes. Okay, now that's in the beginning of the summer. And Carol does a lot of training, so by the end of the summer, she's able to make it there in 20 minutes. So we want to find out what was her percent of change in how long it took her to get to the lake. Well, in this case, hopefully you could see we started at 24 minutes. We ended at 20 minutes. So this is going to be a percent decrease, right? So we know that our answer is going to be a decrease. We just have to find out what that percent is. So again, we set it up the same way. We're going to have 24 minus 20, because that's the amount of change, over the original number, which in this case is 24, and that's going to be equal to our percent over 100. So 24 minus 20 is 4. So we have 4 over 24 is equal to n over 100. And we're not quite so lucky this time, because 24 doesn't go into 100 evenly. So let's do this. Let's reduce this down. So we'll reduce this. 4 goes into 4 one time. 4 goes into 24 6 times. So now we have, basically we have 1/6 is equal to n over 100. And again, 6 doesn't go in evenly, but at least the numbers are relatively small. So now we'll use our cross product method in order to be able to solve this proportion. And we're going to get 6n is equal to 100. And then to solve for n, we would divide both sides by 6. And we're going to find out that n is going to be equal to, now we'll set it up over here, we'll do our short division. So 6 goes into 10 one time, there's 4 left over. 6 goes into 46 times, there's 4 left over. So it's 16 and 4/6, which is 16 and 2/3. So in this case, it would be 16 and 2/3%. And if we go back, we should see that that was a decrease. So it's a 16 and 2/3% decrease. And that is percent of change. Thanks for watching.